I don't have the questions. You'll ask them.
Okay, so
Live on Facebook.
yay. So
we are now streaming live on Facebook. Hi, Facebook.
We are now streaming live on Facebook. Hello, Facebook. Hi, everybody. Great morning, great evening, great afternoon, depending where you are on our amazing planet. Really glad that you could make it with us this morning. I'm clicking buttons on my laptop to see where I am, but I can see that we're live there, so that's cool. That works. Excellent. So today I get to introduce you to an amazing friend of mine. She's a bit of my superhero. My lady superhero, because she's just a really powerful woman. You know, she's one of those people that I firmly believe in, you know, being around people that make your life better, and there's no limit to what that better looks like or what they bring to your life. And she definitely brings, you know, energy and inspiration, you know, and just an amazing vibe for get shit done, because it's important. So she is the founding director of a project that those of you who know me, I talk about endlessly, Global Girl Project, because I really believe in this project, and I'm really excited. For no one can share better about what the project's about and what they do and what the vision and everything is than the founding director of Global Girl Project, Julia Amazing Lynch. Morning, Julia.
I have another new name, Julia Amazing Lynch.
Julia Amazing Lynch.
Good morning, bon dia. Hello. Hi, Facebook land. Good to be here. Thank you for that amazing introduction. Goodness. I didn't bring my cape today, I have to say. The cape is for the afternoon, so.
Okay, and it's hot, so you know.
Trying to live up to that superhero thing anyways. We'll see what happens.
Amazing. So we've got some questions to go through to kind of aid our conversation together. So the first question, how are you today?
You know me, so I'm nothing but honest, right? And I have to say that I'm having one of those, I think it's a week where it's just, you know me, I believe that the body kind of manifests what's happening inside, and I think I must be going through I know I'm going through some transitions. So I woke up this morning and my eye was like, it was just swollen out of my head, and I messaged you. I was like, Yvette, I'm looking like a Igor. I'm like, what's going on? I have some sort of weird style. I was gonna say that I got kicked in the face doing capoeira.
But you're too honest to them.
I'm too honest. So, and then Sunday night I fell off my boat and twisted my knee. So I don't know what's going on, but otherwise, I'm great. I'm happy. You know, life is good, and you just need to kind of roll with the punches or the black eye.
Good.
Whatever it is. How are you this morning?
Yes, I'm doing great. I'm loving the hot. It's hot in London. You know, I wake up and I'm walking around sweating, going, yeah, because I like sweaty. I'm weird like that.
Well, you're Jamaican.
Yeah, exactly. Hot and sweaty works for me all the time.
Like you're at home. I am half Jamaican, as you know. So I think that the English side of me maybe is less happy with this. But I love
less happy.
Actually living on a boat, because you know I live on a boat, so it's you can open your windows and take your screens out. The hatch is open, the doors are open, and so it just feels like you are, you know, part of nature.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, cool. And then it gets really hot because it's
and then
so anyways.
Excellent. Right, let's get into these questions. So my first question is, tell us what is special about Global Girl Project.
Well, you know, Global Girl is like my daughter. She is my daughter. So, you know, any parent thinks that their child is like super duper special, but some, you know, are right? Or everybody's right. All children are special in their own ways. And so for us, Global Girl is special because we are doing something different than a lot of development organizations are doing, right? Some development organizations are doing this really, really well, and we're one of them, is that we are working to create change from within. So a lot of development agencies kind of will come from outside, from Western cultures, and go into developing countries and try to create change. And this is change that's not for us to create, right? And so what we do is we partner with organizations in our partner countries who are already doing amazing work, and we add to their programming. So our programming becomes part of their programming. They are equal partners in it. And so that means that it's our partners and our girls who have agency over what we do. And that's, I feel, what makes us really special and really different, and that we are working to empower and mobilize, one of the most marginalized groups in our global society, which is, young girls who live in poverty within the developing world, who are usually often of color as well, as we know. And so it's a very marginalized community that a lot of people aren't working with. And so, I think that's what makes us really special, and that we are women-led. We're women-led. Our board is all women, although we welcome men as well. But we are a group of powerful women that are being role models for our girls, and that's in the charity sector is very, very different. Normally the leadership doesn't look like you and me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's really, really important as well. So I think that's makes us very special. What do you think? I mean, you're part of the board. Is there anything else?
Yeah, definitely. For me, it's definitely, I remember you sharing a story once about if some kid from Uganda, for example, went to LA and said, you know what, you guys need to sort out this gun crime situation, and I'm going to tell you how to do that, even though I come from a country where there's no gun crime. And that was real. I use that story a lot when I talk to people about Global Girl Project and why it's different, because that really flipped a switch in my head of like, duh, yeah, of course, like, why would you, that makes perfect sense.
I spoke to somebody once who said, he was volunteering somewhere, and there's a lot of volunteerism, and we know that is an issue, and that's something that we very much are against with Global Girl. And somebody who was excited because he had gone and he was teaching people how to build houses in Haiti, and I was like, don't you think they know how to build the houses in their own country? Like, it's not like, they know what is necessary. You just need to help find resources, and not resources from the outside. How do we mobilize resources from within countries? That's what we're working hard at right now. And it's right. I'm Canadian. I live in England. What do I know about life in a small village in Sierra Leone? Very little. And so it's not up to me to decide on what needs to change, number one. And it's not up to me to decide how that change comes about. All I'm doing is providing some tools, and we're providing a network so that we can, we're stronger together. So we're creating this network of girls throughout the developing world who can support and mobilize each other for change. So I think we're pretty awesome.
Amazing. So can you give us some background, like, about how and why Global Girl started? Because it's, how did that happen? What's the story of that?
It's for me, I'm a social worker by training, and I've always worked with young people. I think that they are, teenagers are this perfect kind of mix of naivete and being brave and being open, and being, kind of as developmentally in a place where they can kind of create change, right? So, and I'd also traveled around the world, and I was definitely drawn to different parts of the developing world specifically. And, I was at a point in my life where I think I was approaching 40, and, was looking at like what's not being done. And if you know me, you know that I really I don't like to do what other people are doing. I really like to find a challenge and go there. And so we can look a lot at why it wasn't being done. I now know why it's not being done so much, because it's really hard. And then so we just started to kind of look at what wasn't happening. And you know, at that point, travel was something that, and cultural exchange was something that was not as available for girls in particular who live in poverty in developing countries. And I thought to myself, I was like, well, that doesn't make sense. Just because, you know, you don't, you can't afford it, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to experience different cultures and languages and religions. And more importantly, learn about who you are when you're faced with challenges. And, you know, one of the quickest ways to be able to grow is to be in situations that are really uncomfortable and scary. And one of the quickest ways to do that is to go and travel and go and be in other places. You know, it started, and I kind of said to my friend Eileen, who still works with us, is like, you know, I know somebody who started their own charity. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? You know, if she can do it, then I can do it, kind of thing. And that's what I try to teach the girls, right? And it was really, really, obviously it's a lot more difficult than that, but that's really, I thought, you know, why not just jump off the cliff and see what happens? But I was at a point in my life where I wanted to do something different. I wanted to work in international development. It's not an easy field to get into. You have to maybe go back to university and pay a bunch of money to get another degree, or you have to go volunteer somewhere for a couple of years. And, you know, I was approaching 40 and I was like, I don't want to spend 2 years of my life and then come back poorer than I already was. And still not any closer to where I wanted to go. And so I thought, why not do it myself, to be honest with you. And it has evolved obviously a lot since then, and we'll talk about that. But that was kind of, and then I think in hindsight, what I realized as the years have gone on is that, you know, when I grew up, I didn't receive the message that I was powerful, and especially that I was powerful as a girl. That's something that I didn't know. It's not something that I had learned.
We get called pretty, and I'm trying to think of the words and I've just gone blank. And like, we get called pretty. Sometimes smart, nice, kind.
Yeah, there's a million different things.
Vocabulary.
Yeah, and I think, you know, and this is, you know, no slight to my father, but he's a Jamaican man who I don't think had really any understanding of like how to deal with a girl who wanted to express that power and that individuality. And that was really difficult for him and then for me. And so I wanted to, with Global Girl, what I've realized is really what I wanted to do is to be able to reach girls at this age to help them to connect with their power, not only as people, but as girls in parts of the world where girls still aren't seen as powerful, right? And so do that piece of work in places that it really wasn't necessarily being done so much. So really, ultimately, that's what it's about, is helping our girls to connect with their own power, not in spite of being a girl, but because they are girls, and to use that power to create change. It's not about ourselves. It's about what do we bring to the global society? How do we use our life to make a difference to others? And so, you know, that's really why I started Global Girl. I'm just going to close my window because it's getting hot in here. The sun is coming in the side of my butt. Oh, there we go. All right.
So kind of within that journey of starting it and wanting to go into international development and wanting to empower girls, is it something, how did you become an expert in this kind of work? Was it a learn as you go? Is it how did that happen?
Am I an expert? Is that what you're calling it? Really? Wow. Okay. I have a hard time with that term only because there's always so much more to learn, right? There's always
yeah. But I believe that expertise isn't the end though. Like it doesn't mean, oh, I'm an expert and therefore I'm going to put on my expert and leave. But it's a, you know.
Yeah. And maybe it's also kind of just like there's like a masculine definition of being an expert, and there's probably more feminine.
Right. Yes.
Being an expert. And we all have a lot to learn from each other. So what was the question?
The question was, what's led you to become an expert in this kind of work? Because you run, you know, you make the programs, you make the curriculum, all of that comes from knowing a lot of knowledge and a lot of skills and a lot of, you know, experience.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really somebody who, you know, I mean, what I'm good at and what I know is programming, right? I've, as I said, I've been a social worker for I don't even know how long, since 1994 or something like that, however long that was. And so, you know, developing program is something that is kind of easier for me to do. It's like my superpower, I think. But the other stuff is all stuff that I've had to learn along the way. I never wanted to even be a supervisor in previous jobs that I had, right? And I was good at my jobs, but I never wanted to even like lead other people. And so to be in my position, I never thought to myself, ooh, I want to run my own organization and I want to lead other people. That's not what I was thinking. And that's obviously what's come, and I'm comfortable in it now. But it's been a lot of on-the-job learning, honestly. So it's going, oh my goodness, I need to do this, and I have no idea how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, getting on the internet, researching, calling out to people saying, please help. Does anybody know how to do this? Can anybody teach me anything? And then just not being afraid to just kind of put yourself out there, jump in and try. Because I think a lot of what happens is people are afraid of making a mistake, but I don't even think there's mistakes, right? It's like everything is a learning. So if you do something and it doesn't work, then you have to be able to be vulnerable enough with yourself and other people to accept that didn't work. Don't take it personally. And then be open to other ideas, which is never easy. But I think that over time, I've just learned a lot from other people. I've learned a lot from trying something else and looking to another direction. And I guess now, you know, we've started the charity in 2 different countries, which is something I knew nothing about. You know, I didn't know anything about how to run an exchange program. I don't know anything about budgeting, but all those things I've learned along the way, and want to continue to get better at it. So I guess at this point, yes, I am an expert in some of those things, but still.
Yes, own it, girl.
Still learning.
As you would tell your girls to.
Absolutely. Absolutely own it and know what you have a challenge at, you know, and then ask for help. And I believe that the universe conspires, right? So people always come. What you need will come. As long as you follow what's in front of you, what you need will come.
You need will come. Yeah, I believe that too. Okay. So share with what I've been like 3, I know, how many years has it been?
6 years.
Okay. So in the 6 years, if you had, it's going to be really hard to choose 3 highlights. And they can be from anywhere, from the program itself, from your own personal growth, from the girls, from the...
Woo! So I think that probably the first highlight would be the first girl that we managed to bring. You know, this was like a crazy idea in my head. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, let's see if this works. That's all you can do. Yeah. And so when we had our first exchange student, we were running the program in the US at the time, and she was traveling from Brazil. And once she got to LA and she was safe, and she was happy, and we could run the programming. And then once she got home, once that 2 months was over, I didn't breathe for 2 months, but once the 2 months was over, I was like, okay, this does work, right?
Yeah.
And this is a rudimentary version of what we do now, right? It was the first year, and we were just trying to see if I could even do it. Because we have to remember, like, people think, oh, like travel exchange, whatever. But you and I crossing borders is very different from our girls crossing borders. Our girls
100%.
come from countries, right? They come from countries that having a Canadian passport is great. But if you have a Haitian passport,
You
or
have a
Sierra
Brazilian
Leonean
passport.
Brazilian passport, that's not the same thing. And so it's not, even crossing borders is a challenge. Sometimes even getting a passport is a challenge, right? I still have a Haitian girl from our second year who still doesn't have her passport, you know? So like things that we think are simple for us are a completely different bag of tricks for the girls that we work with. And so just getting her home safe was a huge feat. So I'd say that's number one. Number two is, oh God, there's so many. Number two, I think, would probably be when we moved the program to Nepal, because we did transition the program to Nepal after the third year, because we were having so many issues with immigration in the US at the time, you know, and this is not a Trump thing. This was before Trump. This was like, we just couldn't, because our girls were from like Haiti, we couldn't get them in the country. And that's just the way it is in the US, unfortunately. And I knew that we were going to want to work with like girls from the Middle East, and I knew we were never going to get them into the US. So we made a really big, crazy decision that my board was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, trust me, it's going to be okay. I can't tell you how, I can't tell you why, but it's going to be amazing. And we're going to make this right. Because imagine, I'm like, hey, guess what? We're going to move the whole program out of the US, where I was living, to Nepal, which I don't live in, and none of them had been to. And so when that took a year to bring that program together in Nepal. And so once I arrived in Nepal, and the girls started arriving they were coming from Sierra Leone and Rwanda, Sierra Leone and Haiti. So we finally got the girls from Haiti that we hadn't been able to get into the US for 2 years. And then Nepal. And it was like, it was almost like it wasn't real. Do you know what I mean? Like it really was crazy that I was in Nepal, which is a place that was the first place I ever traveled to by myself. It's a country that I, definitely have lived in before in past lives. And to have like the girls arriving, and it was so hard. I mean, believe me, I'm not going to go into how hard it was, right? I mean, our girls from Haiti took 4 separate flights to get to Nepal.
Wow.
Right. And it took it took 3 people who've traveled the world extensively 2 months to book those flights, because we had to book each flight individually. And because they have Haitian passports, we had to get visas for every country that they were flying through. And there was all this stuff, like we couldn't get a Schengen visa because they wanted proof of the visa in Nepal, but they don't get visas in Nepal till they get to Nepal. And so it's like, we can't show them until they get there, and they won't let them get there until we can get a Schengen visa.
Oh my gosh.
I stayed with a couple of friends in Curacao. Like, you have no idea what it took to be able to make that happen. And so when they arrived and we were all together, that was probably one of the most kind of special moments that really just blew me away. And at that point, I knew that we had to continue to make Global Girl, what it's meant to be. I was questioning it. It's probably the only time I really questioned it, because we had no money, and I was waitressing, and it was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to do this? So that was one. And then I think the other one is kind of a toss up between 2, but the one is that I've finally become full-time director after 6 years of doing this, and this is like, it still hasn't really sunk in. I think it will sink in soon, that I'm actually able to work full time and live off of this, which I didn't know, it wasn't my plan, but that's huge. But I think the biggest thing is probably like the last 2 years of Nepal, and seeing not just Nepal, but our blended learning program too, seeing that the program works.
Yeah.
So each program, whether it's our exchange program or the blended learning, the intention is that each scholar runs her own mini Global Girl project when she goes back home, or for the blended learning, they run an event, a community event about an issue of their choosing. And to actually see this happen, and see each of our girls like go home and they create their own Global Girl projects, and they run these amazing projects that you're like, what? You know, they're addressing caste discrimination, gender, discrimination, pollution, whatever it is. And they run these crazy projects that they impact like hundreds of people in their community that we could never do. We could never do that, because it's isolated communities. And the transition that you see for them as they go from girls to young women in this process. And the agency they have over being a Global Girl, like our blended learning program, I haven't even met these girls in person, and they are like global girls, you know what I mean? Like they've made t-shirts and wristbands, and they're like, we are global girls. And I mean,
wow, talk about own it.
Yeah, it's great. And that's what we want, right? We want it to be theirs. You know, that's what's most important. So yeah,
that's so powerful. So in this pandemic situation, kind of what's been the effect for the girls, for the programs, for the organization? What are some of the things that you found that have happened, that have had to shift, that
I mean, I'll talk about the girls first, because I think that's really what's most important. Is like, it's really been humbling for me, and I try to remind people that I talk to, is that we are in a privileged situation in terms of this pandemic. And we should be grateful for that, because, our girls are, they live in countries where, first of all, the governments are not providing bailouts, right? The governments are not supporting them. They're not sending them money for the money that they're not making, selling fruits and vegetables or whatever their jobs are. A lot of them are living in, and they live in different countries, and it's not all the same, but they're living in countries where they don't have that support, even to the point where prices are being raised for things so they can make more money. Our girls also live often in, 1 or 2 room houses with like 5 to 8 people. So they don't, and outdoor plumbing, right? They don't have regular internet or TV. And this is not all girls, but definitely a number of our girls. And so, our ability to get on the internet and do all these sorts of things to occupy our time is a privilege. And they also live in families that, are very much just living one day to the next. And so they are being dramatically affected by this financially, and then also living in countries where the healthcare systems are not set up to be able to deal with a pandemic. And so we kind of are going to have to see what happens. This is really sad, but we just for our blended learning program, we work in Nigeria, and our Nigerian partners, our Best Spring Foundation, and the executive director, who's a woman that I know well and we work with, and was like the pillar of the community, and this powerhouse of a woman, just passed away last week. We don't know if it's COVID related, but she had a fever and a cough and loss of taste and smell, and she went to the hospital and got tested, but didn't, hasn't got the results yet, and then tried to go to other hospitals because they discharged her and nobody would take her, and she passed away in a car on the way to another hospital. And so that's the reality of where we're working. And so this time is like now. So as an organization, we've had to pivot, right? Our main flagship program is the exchange program. Well, guess what? We're not traveling anywhere right now. For our girls, it means a lot because this is the first time they will have ever traveled. This is their first passport. This may be their only opportunity to actually travel and leave the country. And so we have postponed the exchange program until next May. I hope that it can happen. I don't know, a few of the girls won't be able to participate because they'll be in different school years and be doing exchanges, but we're trying to find other ways to work with them online. If we're looking for people who can help run workshops with them, especially if we have people from the countries that, and Cambodia, Sri Lanka, workshops. And then we've pivoted, right? So we're focusing on our learning program, which thankfully we created before all of this happened.
Right.
And that's a program that I certainly didn't know this was coming, but it's an online program in the sense that we deliver the curriculum through an online platform. And then it's run locally by women that we hire and train to run the program in our partner countries. So that program is going to launch. We're taking a jump, we're taking a risk, and we're fundraising for this right now. So please pay attention. We are launching this program in Haiti, Nigeria, Afghanistan, South Africa, and Jordan, September 12th. Amazing. So, right. And so I look at this as an opportunity for growth, like every other painful experience. And so we are looking at, we don't want to come out of this weaker, we want to come out of this stronger. And as a small charity with one staff member, this is a big challenge, right? We don't have a fundraising team, we don't have a comms team, we have our board and me. So so yeah, that's a big pivot. And then of course the book, we're going to talk about the book, but that came out of the COVID crisis because I was sitting there. It's something that I've wanted to do for the last 6 years. But we didn't have the time, and I had the time because I was no longer teaching capoeira in the schools because of the COVID crisis. And then our girls were all in lockdown, and needed something to be able to focus on instead of what was happening, because they also get a lot of wrong information in the different countries that they're in. So trying to help them to, focus and know that it's going to be okay. And also to create some economic independence for them and to fundraise for our programming. And so this book has
so that's a perfect segue. Is tell us about the book, because I had the privilege of reading the first chapter, and I think I called you and left you a message, and I was like just bawling, and it wasn't out of sadness, it was just out of pure joy. I call them joy tears, that I had the opportunity to hear this girl's life, her truth, her story, and her journey, and it was just fun. I gave myself goosebumps. So please tell us about the book and the collection of stories.
Oh man, this is, when I got that call, I thought like somebody had died. I was like, what's going on? What's happening? Why is she crying? And then I was like, oh, that's beautiful. That's what I want. So the book, this has been something that, as I said, I've been thinking about for many years, because, the girls that we work with just have the most amazing stories that are told in a way that are kind of matter of fact almost, because it's their life, right? And I've really kind of felt from the beginning that I shouldn't be the only one who's hearing these stories, and that these are expect that we, and I speak about this often. There's a TED Talk done by Shichi that's about the danger of a single story, right?
Yes, I love that.
That we often, amazing TED Talk. Please watch it. I love
that one,
and it's talking about the fact that we only have a people from Africa or people from India or people who live in poverty or people who are brown or whatever, and that there's not enough stories being told by those people themselves,
yes,
that show you that the real truth of who they are.
yeah.
And so that's the intention of this book, is to be able to share with you our young women in the way that they want you to know about them. And we're doing, it's a book for young adults, right? So it's a focus on the same age group that our girls are. And what we've done is we've got 8 of our graduates. So they've all gone through our programming at some point. We have like our first girl to most recent girls. They're from 7 different countries. So they're from Brazil, Haiti, India, Sierra Leone, Cameroon / Rwanda, Pakistan, and Nepal. And 2 from Nepal. And they write about what it was like growing up as a girl in their countries and their communities. And then they write about, in very real ways, you know, and then they write about their journeys towards becoming leaders and why that's important for them and for their communities. And each girl, the stories are all very different, you know. They none of them are authors, none of them are writers. So we have a team of 5 volunteers who've been working with us we have a storyteller, and we have 2 editors and proofreaders, and we have an illustrator, and we have a designer who are just working every day to bring these amazing stories together. And they're so reflect their personalities. Like, you're gonna love, like the one that you read, Shri, it's totally her. I mean, she's just, and then there's so many amazing stories. I can't wait for you to read them. And the idea is, you know, it's a young adults book, as I said. So it's not just for girls, it's for boys too, to learn about, you know, how do you use your life to create change? Yes. How do you follow your dream? How do you do what you want to do? But it's also eventually, the goal is that we eventually get this published in different languages. Swahili and Hindi and Arabic, so that we can then get it into the schools and libraries in the countries that we work.
In the countries
So this is kind of the beginning. Eventually, yeah. So because we want girls in those countries to be able to see themselves represented. This is important, right? They're not being represented, and they need to be represented by the girls themselves. And the other thing is that this is about creating some economic independence, as I said. So each author will receive a percentage of the profits. So, you know, will be ongoing. And then the rest of the programming goes back, the rest of the money goes back to our programming. So for us to be able to finance these 5 countries that we're going to be working in September.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that's just an enormous impact. I mean, you know, for me, the idea that they would then, you know, that book gets read by girls in their countries, in their communities, in their language, you know, in their schools, that's just, you know, that ripple effect, that potential impact is just phenomenal.
The potential's huge. And so this is the beginning. You know, we're doing a fundraiser. The link will be somewhere for us to get this published. Yes. Right? Because we're nobody. So it's not like we have a publishing company. So we need to get it published. And then once it's published, we need to sell, you know, we need people to buy it. And then my goal, as I said, is to find a publishing company that is then willing to pay for us to publish this in many different countries.
In many different countries. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think the impact of it also for people this side of the world in our privilege is to stop assuming what people's lives and stories are like, and actually have 7 experiences, 7 true stories that we get to connect with as human beings. You know, I think that's another side of the impact as well.
Well, this is, you know, like I say all the time, is that Global Girl was also started because through my own travels, I got the opportunity to really understand intrinsically that we are all the same. We are all on the same path. We all want the same thing. We all want to be loved. We all want to be of use. We all want to belong. And it doesn't matter what we look like. It doesn't matter where we come from. And it's just about understanding. And if we understand each other, then we can't hurt each other. And so this is about understanding. We are not the organization that's going to post some picture of some brown emaciated girl that you need to save. That's not who we are. Yeah. It isn't about saving anybody. These are powerful, powerful girls who have dreams, who only need the tools and the inspiration and the push
to tap into what they already have within them.
Yeah, bring those into reality, and you'll read that in their story. You will read the things that they've done that are just like, oh, I love each of them. You know, they're just amazing, and I can't wait for you to actually meet them. You know, so yeah, it's super exciting. It's very exciting. Amazing. And that came out of the crisis. And it's also the other thing to remember is, you know, we are in the middle of a struggle globally fighting racial inequalities, right? We know what's happening in the US. This happens all over the world, especially in the places that we work. And you know, now more than ever, we need to hear the voices of girls that look like our girls, you know, that come from places that our girls come from. We need to hear those stories, and we need your support. And number one is, like, you know, it's hard for an organization that's led, you know, by women of color to even get supported, you know, and to support the girls that we can support. So this is a huge way for you to be able to do that. And a really cool, you know, at the end of the day, we'll get a book out of it, which will be, the girls can't believe they're going to be published. They're like,
that's amazing. I can't wait to, I can't wait to see their faces when they have their own book in their hands. It's just going to be so powerful, So we'll wrap it up. Just tell us, how can people help? How can people find Global Girl Project? How can they best support?
I mean, you can find us. We're all over the place, right? And I'm sure you'll share the links.
Yeah, I will share the links. Yeah,
we are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and we have a website as well. You can help in so many different ways, from very simple, go on our pages and follow us or like us. That is huge. It's huge. You have no idea, because all of the crazy algorithms that I don't understand help us to be seen more. We're grassroots, baby. So we need you to just go on and like, follow, share. If you have £5, £10, £100, donate to our campaign. We have a campaign going on right now that we need your support with. If you are interested in becoming a monthly donor, we have a monthly donor program on our website. So that's huge, because we need sustainable funding. We have no government grants. We don't have any trust funds. We don't have any of those things. We are depending on people like you to donate monthly. It makes an enormous difference for us. It means we can plan ahead. It means we can say to those 50 girls, yes, we are going to work with you, instead of keeping people hanging, you know. And then you can, if you want to become involved, you can email me. Everything on the website comes through to me. So there's a contact form. If you want to become involved, you know, email me with what you're passionate about, what you love to do, and let's see if there's something that you can help with. We need people who can help us various things, right? We need somebody who is experienced in terms of the financial side, somebody who can put together a great budget is really important. Anybody who is experienced in writing funding proposals. We need help with, what else? There's so many different things. Just reach out.
Yeah, fundraising, social media, anything that helps an organization grow, basically, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, we are, I keep saying, we're kind of in this, like, you know, when you're a teenager and you start getting pimples and your hair grows in funny places and your voice changes. you're like, what's going on? And you can kind of see how beautiful this person's going to be in you know a year or two, but right now it's like, this is uncomfortable. That's where that's where we are. And so we need we are built on highly skilled volunteers who have taken us from being, you know, an infant to being a teenager, and we need more that will take us into, you know, our full sort of expression of who we are. And we've definitely, we're almost there. So
yeah. I think one of my things that I think is special about Global Girl Project is I think that the organization itself, and definitely you, Julia, it's you're like the manifestation of what the girls are capable of doing. You know, it's like, this is what's possible. You know, and that includes all the bumps, all the falls, all the great moments, all the joy, all the that's really sticky, hard, smelly, all of it encompassed. Shows them within you as a leader and the organization that's growing. They can look at it and say, yeah, that's what's possible. And that for me is what's really special about what you've created.
Well, thank you, Yvette. Yeah, it is. You got to keep getting back up. You know, sometimes I'll say, like, I don't know if I can get back up. I'm tired, and then that, you know, give myself a day, and then get back up again. And like, let's not pretend this has been an easy road. This has been a really, really, really bumpy road. And I have people who are like, "You're still doing that?"
Yes, still doing that. Yes.
Join me. And so it's about, you have to, if you're trying to help raise young people, however you do it, whether they're your biological ones or your global ones, is you have to be what you want them to become. You know, you can't just tell, you can't just teach, you have to show. And so for me, it is I want the girls to be beyond what I have become, you know, and I can't wait to see them.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for spending time with us. It's been super fun. We're going to share this everywhere. with the swelling eye and everything. Definitely. And more important than the sharing, the liking, and the give and the follow is to give, donate.
I want to get to, like, we should set a goal. Like,
okay, go for it.
Today, Thursday. I think we're at 2,100 pounds. So let's say by Sunday we want to get to like 2,500 pounds. So that's
okay.
Like
so Sunday, 2,500 pounds. We can do that. We can definitely do that. Thank you so much. Have an amazing day, everyone, and look forward to seeing you all again. And thank you for joining us on Success Clues. Bye.